Oh my god. Fuck me.
He said he was going to his friend's house to play video games.
He left at 3:30.
I don't know the exact time.
This woman is in the midst of lying to police. Just hours ago, she brutally murdered her son Gannon, hid his body in the basement, and called 911 to report him missing. Officers at the scene have no idea what they walked into, and they will quickly find themselves entangled in this killer's twisted lies.
Is there anybody down here?
No.
Nowhere.
So then when I get downstairs, he had one of the guns, and I was terrified. He asked me to give him a suitcase.
Is Gannon in a dumpster?
No.
You didn't hurt Gannon? Did you kill Gannon?
No.
But this was just the beginning of her lies.
Why would I hurt our child? I had everything in the world. I have no motive.
So tell me where he is and let me help you.
I don't know where he is. All I can tell you is I did not hurt him.
Oh yeah, I've seen
In
seen
the
this
early
chick's case
hours
before.
of January 27th, Letitia texts her supervisors at Widefield School District 3 stating that she cannot come to work. Allegedly, her stepfather was killed in a hit and run, and she has to tend to his passing. Nearly 6 hours later, at 9:56 a.m., Letitia sends another text to her employers. This time, she states that Gannon is sick and she needs to stay home. However, just 20 minutes later, at 10:16 a.m., a neighbor's surveillance camera captures Letitia and Gannon entering their red Nissan Frontier and driving away. During this time, Letitia would visit a Petco on Nevada Avenue instead of visiting a doctor to treat her allegedly sick son. By 2 p.m., both Gannon and Letitia returned home, but something was off. Not only did Letitia purchase cleaning supplies moments after their return, but backed all the way into her driveway. According to family and friends, Letitia never backed up all the way into the driveway. But for now, only one credible conclusion can be made. The only person last in contact with Gannon was his own stepmother. And oddly enough, she would report him to be missing 5 hours later at 7 p.m.
My son was supposed to be home at 6 o'clock, and it's almost 7. And we went to all his friends' house. He said he was going to be at his friend's house, and they said he wasn't there, and the other one said he never came there. So I don't know any other people to call and ask. And I talked to my husband, so I told him I had to call you guys as fast as I could because I don't know anyone else here that he could be. He's only 11.
With this call, officers rushed to Letitia's home in an attempt to gather as much information as possible, because every single second, Gannon's trail gets colder.
Did he take his bike?
No.
Okay, because somebody saw a little kid on a bike. They posted it, but I didn't know if he brought it.
Well, he didn't, unless he took it sooner and brought it back because Lena ends up getting the bike.
What color is the bike?
Dinner.
Blue,
And he
black.
They thought he was at
Black.
his friend's house. He's like,
Yeah. There's
He never
one
went to his
picture
friend's
someone
house.
sent he was on,
Okay.
and he was taking the switch.
For someone who just realized their son is missing, Letitia is strangely calm. Not only that, she states with her initial alibi that Gannon was visiting her friend, which is clearly a lie as Gannon never left the home after his return. Undoubtedly, something is very wrong here. But for these officers, Letitia is nothing more than a concerned mother as they continue to search her home.
Okay. You weren't in here in the beginning, right? I didn't know if I had that box cutter and all that stuff in there because I told him about he dropped the candle last night.
Oh, okay.
And I thought I must have picked it up. I was just making sure. I didn't want you to be like, oh, just a box cutter. But yeah, I had to cut this, and I told them I wasn't even going to tell Dad, and I was going to figure out a way to put this in there from the situation. But
At least you got a cart. Yeah, good.
right, I just took it and covered.
This chick's gotta be one of the worst liars I think I've ever seen.
Up with the carpet and stuff like that, but
Does he have any friends around here?
there is let me look on this thing. He did have this one book thing.
that's where you're supposed to be at down the road.
But they checked that already?
They went over there and talked to him, and they're like, no, we hadn't seen him at all.
Oh, okay.
He did have this
And you talked to parents, right? You didn't talk to...
yeah, Connor's mom came over, who is a friend he hangs out with all the time. So they come over. The people here, the friends, they were just the ones that were the door with the bike.
Okay.
They came over. A bunch of people came over.
Keep in mind that officers have not yet completed their house search. They have only gone through the home superficially. Yet, oddly, Letitia is trying her best to keep them restrained to 2 sections of the house. The living room, where there is a burnt piece of carpet, and Gannon's room. This strange behavior
How odd is it though that they have burnt carpet? Like, huh? Doesn't make sense. It's immediate red flag.
would only worsen, as Letitia is committed to keeping the officers where they are.
He forgets to like bring this or bring that or bring this or bring that. You know?
Still good.
Yeah.
So no clothes are missing or nothing?
No, we actually lay out all the clothes all the time. Like for, you know, like every day at school, we lay out clothes. We do whatever.
Is his jacket gone?
He had on he has several jackets. Like
Bro, this broad's mine.
So like it just depends on jackets. Like
This broad's
he
mine
has
must
this
be
black one
racing.
with this, or there's a blue one with this.
She just killed this kid and shit. She's sitting here talking like, I don't know how these people maintain composure. I guess that's the difference between them and me, but fucking insane.
So he had a jacket.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Silver jackets. Like I mean, you see the kid has, you know, like tons and tons of clothes, and he just, you know,
Okay.
he has all that stuff. So
There was a weird text that Dad got about something about
90
bath
pounds,
salts. And hey, if you
And then I
if
sent
I
you that
can get some
picture
bath
that-
salts, do we have any bath salts?
Yeah,
And my friend will let me play Sonic or something at their house.
He sent that to his dad.
Yeah,
I got it.
And then Mom goes through everything, finds this part. Yeah.
This is the exact moment that officers realized that Letitia was hiding something from them. It's strange that she randomly closes the door here as if there was something in the basement that she didn't want the cops to see. And her behavior, words, and strategies to deflect the cops from certain areas of the house did not go unnoticed. Consequently, her devices were
I feel pretty sick today, honestly. Just playing some zombies earlier.
subjected to a forensic analysis.
I
where
just wasn't
officers
feeling
would
good,
come
so I had to
across
stop
a
playing.
disturbing
I was
video
getting like distracted
recorded
because I had a
on
headache and
Sunday,
shit.
January 26th, a day before Gannon supposedly went missing.
Gannon, I promise this is the last time I'm going to ask you. I'm just freaked out, okay? Are you sure you didn't do it on purpose?
He did it.
Okay, you promise. You promise.
On purpose.
Pinky promise.
Pinky.
Okay, all right. So, listen, we're going to have to sell stuff to fix it. So, we figure out what we got to sell. We can sell the sofa, because we got to get it fixed, so lady, don't be mad at us and kick us out of the house. Okay?
This video was recorded by Letitia when Gannon supposedly dropped a candle on the carpet, leaving a burn mark. What the video doesn't show is that Gannon sustained burn injuries on his arms from the candle, and rather than treating his burns, Letitia is heard scolding him instead. Additionally, during the phone analysis, officers discovered a phone call that Letitia had made to her husband, Albert Stouch, informing him of the situation.
He told me it was just his arms. So I didn't see anything that would
The
have
worst? Yeah,
done
my
a sign.
throat's fucked. I gotta have these halls. We're saving
I
my
had to be
throat.
like, oh my god, emergency or anything like that.
But if his arms was bubbling, that's not an emergency?
Well, it had broke skin, like it was just underneath. In my mind, I'm like, let's evaluate the situation tomorrow and see or whatever. It wasn't burn.
Bro, this chick is terrible. What the fuck? Look, I can imagine having her as
It
mom.
was bubbly. I didn't see it as a bad thing. I just knew he was like, it's not hurting. We put aloe on it, and I assumed, okay.
As heartbreaking as this call is, the burns described are likely second degree because of both the freezing feeling that Gannon described and the presence of blisters. Things aren't adding up, and the story so far paints a really bad light on Letitia. However, officers need to verify what really happened, as it was after this incident that Gannon disappeared. That's why on January 30th, 3 days after Gannon's disappearance, Letitia was called in for an interview so detectives
This
could
bitch
understand
killed him because he dropped the candle? Are you fucking kidding me? It's crazy.
the circumstances surrounding the situation.
So Gannon had started a candle. Again, normal day. He's very like a responsible
original
in terms
LS
of,
would be
like,
interesting.
if you give him something and say, do this, and this, and like a list to prepare, he's fine. So we let him, do things like that. So I didn't see a problem with him, light a candle, whatever. And Lena asked me, could she stay up and still watch the rest of her iPad or whatever. It was just her birthday, and I was trying to give her a little bit extra because we went all out for Gannon's birthday. Like, we took him to a Rockies game. We took friends with him.
It is already strange that Letitia is going on several tangents and prefacing this entire conversation with the loving relationship she had with her children, especially with her daughter, Harley Hunt, whom she would refer to as Lena, almost as if she wants to say that whatever happened with the candle was not intentional.
So it starts beeping. It's like a beep, 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 beep. And I thought that someone was coming in the house. I didn't see anything going on. Then it started saying fire, 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 fire. So there was smoke coming up through the basement. So then I ran back downstairs to get Gannon. And then the fire was on the floor over here, then on the sofa. So I'm pretending this is the sofa and this is our floor. So it was right here and right here. And I saw the candle that was over here. So there was covers everywhere because the kids always get on them about at least a lot of covers laying around all the time. I take a whole bunch of them and I go and like basically smash down on the sofa and the fire to put it out. So I got a burn, and then I was like, get up again, and started running at that point because it wakes him up. He's alert. He's realizing that the covers and everything's on fire, the carpet's on fire, and we all go outside.
Essentially, what occurred was a freak accident from Gannon. Due to him accidentally knocking over a candle, a small fire had somehow ignited on the carpet in the basement. This was the same cut-up section of the carpet that Letitia had previously shown officers. But this was odd. Second-degree burns by just a knocked-over candle, especially on both arms, is unlikely, if not impossible. Gannon would have also had enough common sense to run away from flames. After all, it was a slow-moving fire caused by a candle. If this wasn't strange enough, Letitia begins to recount the injuries Gannon suffered, but this time, they would be different from what she told Albert.
I was scared because my thought process was, Albert is going to kill me. Because I made a mistake as a parent and forgot to really check him down. And he really got a little bit more burnt than he should have. So I was freaking out because it's like, he's going to kill me. And Gannon's like, it's okay. And there was blood. And he had on his arms. And as it was peeling, I should have called.
What did he have blood at?
I should have called the hospital and just asked, I don't know enough about burns, but I should have called the hospital and just asked,
Whoa.
I made a mistake.
Blowing bubbles out here.
Letitia just said more than he should have, and secondly, implied that Gannon was somehow bleeding because of burns, an apparent contradiction to what she told Albert. More importantly, this was a massive slip-up by Letitia, and detectives suspect that this fire wasn't a simple mistake. However, there is no way to confirm this situation as of now, but there is one conclusion that officers can make. Letitia is lying. When a suspect is guilty...
I gotta look that up. Do you bleed from a burn? Maybe the blister, but... Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. You can't really bleed from a burn. Smash that like, bro. Have a good stream. Yo, I appreciate you, Smoke Up, bro. You have a good one, eh? Yo, Sean, you do your thing, brother. Do your thing, my man.
Guilty, they often make major changes to alibis as opposed to someone who is innocent and has little variation in their story. In Letitia's case, she changes major details about the candle incident, especially her response, which was recorded on her phone, which
look at her legs bobbing too.
Of red flags for the detectives, as they now believe that she might go as far as changing her original alibi about Gannon's disappearance too, and begin to question her about it. If this assumption turns out to be true, there is a high likelihood that Letitia is withholding even more crucial information.
He goes in through the garage. I go in. I'm getting ready to put up the things, stuff like that. As we got inside, I heard something, but I didn't think anything about it because I thought, maybe maybe Gannon was like doing something, maybe we were like doing whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy was in there. And I gave him the code.
The guy from the...
Yeah, it's all my fault. Because I gave him our code to fix the carpet.
Okay.
And I shouldn't have. And then when I walked downstairs, I hear something again. Well, at that point in time, Gannon was on the sofa, and I saw him. And I heard something again, and I walked on around, and he was standing in there. He had on gloves.
In the storage closet?
Yes.
Okay.
Fuck. Shit, man. I should set up my dab rig. I might do that tomorrow. I might clean my bong tomorrow and set up the
Yeah,
dab
I
rig.
wanted to come. And I was terrified.
Okay.
So terrified. And then he just knocked me down and like towards Gannon's room. And he was hitting on me. It was like hard, like on the ground. And he was trying to like rape me.
Exactly as predicted, Letitia's alibi has changed from Gannon visiting a friend's house to having an intruder break into her
What?
home. But this would only be the start of her outrageous lies as, according to her, confrontation with this stranger escalates.
And I'm like pleading and like talking and like all these things going on. Like just back and forth with him. And why are you doing this? Why did you hurt us? Why are you doing these things? And then he was like on top of me again. And then I kind of lied out again because he just hit my head again.
Really?
And then, and then he was like, he asked me to give him a suitcase. And I gave him a brown suitcase. And then he hit me on the head again. And I like, right here. He just kept like hitting me right there like that.
Okay.
And so then he did that. And then I blacked out again. I was having panic attacks. And then I don't know what happened from there.
Imagine being
really
a cop
don't.
and you
I
like
don't
listening to
know.
this
I just
bullshit.
know that I did lie. I did. When they came, I did say, get a lift, whatever, but you know that. But he never did. He never left to go play. Or I just didn't know what to do, and I panicked at the moment. And I didn't want Albert to be like trying to hurt us, because we kind of get a lot of fights. And I just want you to know that's the only reason that I made up the lie.
A simple way to check whether she has been assaulted is using a sexual assault nurse examiner at a local hospital. These are registered nurses who receive special training to collect forensic evidence from assault survivors. Conveniently, Letitia rejected this examination when officers offered it to her. Not only that, but even CCTV footage
Damn, that's pretty pretty damning. No rape victim would deny that.
confirms the fact that no one entered or left the Stout residence after Letitia and Gannon came home. She likely thought that this poorly planned story would absolve her of any crimes. Fortunately, quite the opposite happened. Noticing these contradictions, police officers handed this case over to the FBI, who gathered CCTV footage from neighbors and came to a harrowing realization. The morning after Gannon's disappearance, Letitia rented a Kia Rio for 24 hours and left the house at approximately 8:30 a.m. on the 28th of January. When the car was returned the following day at 8 a.m. on the 29th of January, it had clocked in 955 miles in the span of one day. This could mean only one thing. Letitia had likely murdered Gannon after their return at 2 p.m. and on the morning of January 28th, left to dump his body. While this much is easy to figure out, the exact details surrounding the murder are still not known. This is why 1 month after Gannon's disappearance, on March 2nd, federal investigators called Letitia in for yet another interview to piece together this confusing puzzle of Gannon's disappearance and possibly his murder.
Because of the nature of the warrant, it being a murder warrant, we need to know the real story because you put out quite a few different stories.
About to
Well, we heard a lot of the stories to Al.
To Albert?
Mm-hmm.
The reason I already knew someone was listening to him, but
What?
because of him not ever like being like supportive, and I tried originally to talk to him when he first got there. That was the only reason I said those things to him, was just because I was out of anger and I was like hurt and not being able to have like support.
Bro, this chick's a great manipulator. Not good enough, obviously, but holy fuck.
Just being what is the word you want to call it? Selfish or facetious or whatever you want to call it. I did have like originally initial different thoughts on certain things, and that was me trying to like basically read him and try to figure the situation out.
Chick's like trying to talk astrology with this fucking guy.
And that's okay because that totally was not.
What Letitia is referring to hearing are rumors about the friction between her and Albert. Since he was a National Guard, Albert was rarely home and Letitia felt he gave little attention to her. This had resulted in instability in their relationship, which Letitia initially denies as being small apprehensions she felt about him. However, when the officer confronts her about odd searches on her phone, she goes into a state of absolute panic.
You know, in here I even have what you entered in your phone. The stuff that you've entered and deleted, like blood is spurting from an arterial bleed, direct pressure not controlling.
What? I didn't look this up.
It's from your phone.
Blood is what?
Spurting from an arterial bleed.
No.
Well, somebody did from your phone. If I don't like my stepson?
No.
If I don't like my stepson, should I get a divorce? I'll stalk cheating. I'll stalk Instagram. I'll stalk cheating in Colorado Springs. How to get blood out of sheep.
This bitch is crazy, man. Well, obviously she's crazy if she's killing her stepson and shit. But what the fuck? That's wild. I love how this bitch leaves it to Google. Should I get a divorce? Fucking dumb. That's just the society in a nutshell today. Leave it to Google to figure out. I used to be like that when I was a kid. And I started thinking for myself.
Out of sheep?
Mm-hmm. I want immunity.
Oh, the blood out of sheets was because we always had always nosebleeds. If I ever looked up blood out of sheets, it was nosebleeds.
And I figured it might be something.
I didn't ever look up anything about an artery or something unless it went from something else.
It's on your phone.
And I never looked up anything about my stepson unless someone else did.
The searches that the investigator just named would only be a few of the 34 searches that Letitia made between...
Wait. School is out. Is it okay for my kid to stay home alone? Son is sick, but I have to go to work. Son is sick. Police steps. Sure. Missing child. What?
In the 25th and the 28th of January, which is the exact time frame that Gannon went missing. Conveniently, she would have an excuse for every single one of them.
The reason I brought up gangs is you looked up, I want immunity because it was gang related. And this sounds like find me a new husband, find me a rich guy who loves to take care of his kids.
This chick's watching too much TikTok.
New husband is just because Albert already knew that was about the lady Debbie Sherrill who wanted to find a new husband after 35 or something. He picked me about Amazon.
And like a lot of these can have nothing to do with this.
It doesn't.
I get it. I'm doing all the work for my stepkids and their mom doesn't help.
Oh, that bothered me. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame.
Oh yes, because I wanted them to be mine. Like
one day, some people will wish they treated you differently, which I get that. Parenting should be for people, not one. What a societal person might say. I mean, these make me very sad when I read them because I can see you're doing all the work at home by yourself.
Which I wanted to be there. Like, I wanted to totally have the kids as my children. That's the point you're not getting. Like, I wanted those kids to be saying to me that I'm their mom. Yeah. Like, I'm the person who does it. Cares for them, loves them, everything.
If these were not incriminating enough, investigators also found 12 deleted search terms in Letitia's iPhone, all of which pertaining to her wanting to find a new husband and being sick of being with Albert.
What do you do if you suspect a person swallowed poison? Did somebody actually swallow poison?
Poison? I don't know. I always click things and read them. No one
Did somebody swallow it?
No one swallowed any.
That's crazy. This bitch is planning on killing her husband.
Poison.
Okay. You will never forgive me and treat me like a princess. You'll never know when it's too late.
Oh yeah, I mean, I always search for things when Albert was gone.
What is an Alford plea? Did you figure out what an Alford plea was?
Alford plea?
Yeah.
I think someone asked me that and I probably searched it.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
You remember? What did you remember?
I don't remember. I just remember something. Because someone was writing that online. So if anyone wrote something online, I looked it up. Just like the other day, someone wrote something about FBI coming or something, and if I see something online, I always Google.
Usually when a suspect undergoes a criminal trial and is found guilty of a crime, they are given a maximum sentence. However, there is a legal loophole to avoid this. If a suspect pleads guilty, yet remains adamant that they are innocent, then they are not given a maximum punishment. Instead, they are given a known punishment for a crime. This is known as the Alford plea. But as always, Letitia has a convenient story for a search as incriminating as this and continues deflecting any and all evidence.
How is an Alford
Because of
plea
this cathartic
incriminating? I guess in
behavior,
this
the
context
detective
it
decides
is.
to reroute the conversation elsewhere. A preliminary investigation of the house found blood splotches covering the rear of the truck, Gannon's living space, and even the cut-up carpet.
I've seen the markers from the spray. The spray went from the bed all the way up here. Well, you had to clean it up.
I don't know anything about that.
It comes from aspirated blood.
Okay.
Do you know what that means?
No.
It means that he didn't accidentally do it.
Okay. Whatever.
So that's what we were waiting on for the warrants, because somebody struck Gannon in the bed.
If someone struck Gannon in the bed, thank God we were all drugged then. If that's what you're saying happened.
Well, then can you tell me how that blood got on the wall?
Sir.
That's Gannon's blood on the wall.
Okay, well, I guess, sir, if you think you have all the answers, then
You're making me guess.
I'm not.
You've got the answers.
I'm not making you guess, sir.
It doesn't work like it does on TV. Have you ever watched Criminal Minds or Profilers?
I don't watch any of that stuff because I don't do bad things to people.
You know, good people watch those shows.
I don't do any of that. I don't do bad things to people.
Right now, you're the last person with Gannon.
I don't do bad things to people. I don't.
I don't think you do bad things to people.
I don't do bad things to anyone, and I didn't do anything bad to Gannon.
I think something bad happened to Gannon, and I don't know of a way to get you to tell me about it.
When Gannon returned home on the 27th of January, a doorbell camera had captured audio of neighborhood dogs being sent into a frenzy by what appeared to be Gannon screaming. By 5 p.m., 3 hours after these screams, Letitia had ordered her daughter, Harley Hunt, to buy cleaning supplies from a nearby Dollar Tree at 5 p.m. These included baking soda, vinegar, trash bags, and carpet powder from a nearby Dollar Tree. The baking soda and carpet powder to absorb the odor of blood and clean minor stains on the carpet. The vinegar was bought to remove deeper stains on walls and act as a disinfectant, and the trash bags to hide Gannon's body. A body that officers had missed by mere inches and had been hidden away in some part of the basement or garage. And every single location that Letitia showed officers, the garage, the carpet, and Gannon's room, were all locations that Gannon had bled in. Not only that, her searches about human anatomy from before indicate that she stabbed Gannon in the artery, which resulted in arterial spray, after which Letitia desperately tried to clean up the evidence of her crimes. This is also the reason she had backed up all the way into her driveway, as the rear end of her vehicle was filled with blood, indicating that abuse had taken place prior to them returning home. Knowing that the investigator is catching on to this story, her initial attempts of feigning innocence now turn into desperate attempts to deflect everything that she is told.
Why would I hurt our child? I had everything in the world. Why? I have no motive. None. Don't have the first motive. Everything I wanted in my life, I had it. Why? Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense a lot of the time what happens inside of a house.
And sir, I don't even know what you're talking about. All I can tell you is I did not hurt you.
Notice that she uses the word motive, which is often terminology that is used by law enforcement when charging a criminal, corroborating the facts that she had done her due diligence about the law in case she got caught, just like her searches about the Alford plea. Regardless, the investigator knows that there is a limit to how much she can refuse cold hard facts, and begins to pressure her even further by promising her that he is more concerned about Gannon's safety rather than her crimes.
I do want to help, and whether you did this or not, it doesn't matter to me. With all the evidence that they have, the reason why it took so long is the district attorney wanted to wait and wait and wait till they made sure they could win in the courtroom.
Okay.
And I've done no body homicides before. They have more on this case than we do on most of them.
Okay. But if you have what you need, why do you keep asking me?
Because our goal is to find Gannon. Our goal is not to prosecute you. That is the district attorney's job. We're investigators. And like you've just seen, I do a poor job about half the time because I have to guess. Because as much as we tried to track you with your cars and your phones and whatever else, there are gaps. We do have, like I told you, the blood in the house. We do have, do you know about the board that was thrown in the forest? Letitia?
Oh. What? I'm sorry, sir. What?
The board that has Gannon's blood on it that was thrown in the forest.
Okay. So all right, so what?
You got your DNA on it.
Presented with such overwhelming evidence, a suspect would usually crack under the pressure and allow themselves to be arrested. In Letitia's case, however, not only does she keep refuting everything the detective has to say, but even goes as far as accidentally giving him even more incriminating information.
The blood that you or your team allow people to be in the house.
That has no bearing on this.
Okay, well, if it doesn't, then okay.
It doesn't.
Okay, so
Are you ready to tell me the last time you saw Gannon?
maybe check one of them, because
I bet you they can tell me the last time they saw Gannon, even though it was months before.
Your answer.
I bet Al can tell you the last time he saw Gannon, even though he didn't know that was going to be the last time. I guarantee you he's got an image of Gannon. And you were the last one looking at Letitia.
Okay.
Now, Letitia has just agreed that she was the last person who saw Gannon. Not only this, but throughout this interview, she has also admitted to Gannon's injuries, blood locations, and motives. With all of this information that Letitia herself provided, this was less of an interrogation and more of a confession of murder. Letitia was a broken individual. She cast aside her husband and 2 children because of 2 major reasons. 1, Albert's job in the National Guard made her resent him and wish she was married to someone better. 2, her extreme inferiority complex towards Gannon's biological mother, Landon Bullard. It was later found that during the candle incident, Gannon had wished for his mom to be present, which sent Letitia into a psychotic break, and she attempted to mask a murder in the form of an accidental fire. This failed attempt only added fuel to the fire, so the very next day she called in a vacation from work and spent the day brutally murdering Gannon and erasing any traces of her crimes. With these findings, there was no escape for Letitia, and 8 days after this interview, she was officially arrested for her crimes. And while being transported to a county jail, out of pure frustration and insanity, she turns to the only other option she has, becoming a fugitive.
She keeps threatening me. Stop. Well, she keeps threatening. Stop.
Stop it.
Well, she keeps on threatening me. I have stopped it. She keeps on.
She got out of the restraints.
She keeps on. Threatening me.
Put your arm down.
I will for you. She keeps
Put
threatening.
your arm down.
Put
now.
your arm
Put
down.
your arm
Well, she
down.
keeps threatening me the whole time.
Tisha?
I will with you. I said I would.
Then give me your arm now.
Well, I said I would with you. I said I would with you. I said I would with you. I'm just asking to breathe. That's it. Just to breathe. That's all I want to do is breathe. You're hurting my arm.
My phone is jacked.
You're hurting my arm. You're hurting my arm.
Lisa,
I just
stop.
want my arm It's hurting my arm. Just let my arm off.
It is ironic that Letitia complains about not being able to breathe, about how her arm hurts, and how she's uncomfortable. Yet, when she did even worse to poor Gannon, she was filled with nothing but ecstasy and couldn't help but laugh in the face of the officers. Even more tragically, the circumstances that Gannon's body was found in would prove that his death was not instant. It was slow and painful. On March 17, 2020, 49 days after his murder, a maintenance worker found a suitcase under Escavia Bay Bridge in Pace, Florida, 1,300 miles away from the Stouch home, and inside was Gannon's body. Autopsies done on the body showed high levels of acetaminophen and hydrocodone. While these are generally pain medications, hydrocodone was never prescribed to Gannon. It was prescribed to his father, Albert Stouch, who kept the prescription hidden in his nightstand, the location of which only Letitia was aware of. This means he was forcibly drugged to reduce the pain of his injuries, possibly in an attempt to fuel Letitia's sick fantasies. However, this was not the end of it. A gunshot wound in his jaw meant that after Letitia had her fun, she ended his life almost immediately. For nearly 2 months, Letitia was well aware of all these crimes. When she was finally put to trial, phone calls would be shown in court with Letitia begging Albert to stop cooperating with investigators so she could get immunity.
I need to know something about my son. I need to know something about Gannon. Do you know if he's safe? Do you know, is he safe? Where is he at? Do you have anything?
And if I kill Gannon, really?
What about this? I'm trying to think of any way to cue the police to offer you immunity if they can, okay?
Because they'll try to incriminate me for this. I need immunity.
I think they give it to you because this is big that he was there and they missed it. Because then they're going to want to cover their shit for not finding him.
Regardless of these desperate attempts, Albert continued to cooperate with authorities to convict Letitia of her crimes. 3 years later, on May 8, 2023, Letitia's trial concluded, a life sentence in prison without parole plus 156 years. The maximum possible sentence under Colorado law.
What's up, Jay? 156 years plus life. Jesus. It's a long time. So Saw did Jay. Saw. Yep. Yo. What are you saying? Oh yeah, how's that? Oh yeah? Yeah, you sound pretty drunk. Brad Snelling got fired? No, dude, I quit. Yeah. For what? Well, they can't. He got fired for talking shit about Claybar, right? That's funny. I don't blame him. I was talking shit about Claybar too, bro. The last day I worked at Claybar, the one day they go to me, I'm like, they go and fucking, they're like, yeah, you're gonna be working with Andrew Snelling today. They tell me this at like 9 o'clock in the morning, so I'm just sitting around waiting for people, right? So Andrew Snelling comes and picks me up. We're halfway to Windsor, and he goes, yo, by the way, we're staying out of town tonight, eh? And I'm like, well, fuck, that's good to know now, like. Yeah, no underwear, no fucking clothes, nothing, you know what I mean? Nothing to brush my teeth, you know what I mean? Nothing. So I'm like, whatever. And then, like, every fucking day, we would sit there, and then they would, like, they'd make us wait till, like, 11 o'clock in the afternoon to tell us that, like, oh, yeah, you gotta go deliver 7 fucking 1,000-pound coolers. And, like, we're getting home at, like, 9, 10 o'clock, and we have to be up at, like, 5 or 6 the next day. It's like, fuck this shit. Yeah, I was just like, fuck this shit, man. This is horse shit. Literally, dude, I got $3,600 for 1 week's pay, and I made $22 an hour. Yeah, that was fucking stupid, bro. It was. Yeah, Andrew dropped me off on the Monday morning, and I just straight up told him, I was like, buddy, don't come and pick me up tomorrow, because you'll be waiting here all fucking day. He's like, what? He's like, what? And like, I fucking quit, dude. Like, do not fucking come here tomorrow. Like, I'm not fucking around. Yeah, like, I even told Nick, I was just like, he tried calling me and shit, and I just tried to message him, and I was like, listen, like, what you guys have to do is bullshit, don't call. Like, that's fuck. Not fuck. Yeah. You just gotta worry about fucking Shannon molesting you. Yeah. Alright, bro. Peace. Scrappy doing a B2M as a Watson. Bronze to Masters. Cool. That's pretty cool. Watson's really good this season. Low key facts. Yeah, I was playing Azure and I've had some really good games. I already watched it. Nothing really crazy changing. Yo, I actually really want to watch this video. I can't skip this ad. Fuck. Fuck YouTube.
It's time for a change in this country, my friends.
Yeah,
a real change.
That's cool. Sure.
It's time for a change in this country, my friends. A real change.
Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and in this video we're breaking down the Batman. I feel like this is one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, and to me, it's a crime noir classic that's one of the Dark Knight's best stories. Taking inspiration from several comic books and movies, throughout this video we're gonna break it all down. I'm lucky enough to own pretty much all the major Batman graphic novels, and there's a ton of nods to the library laced throughout the film. Although we've covered this movie before, and some of the Easter eggs are the same, overall this is a much more in-depth look. Obviously though, there's gonna be heavy spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen it, then head off like Gil Coulson. We won't be talking about anything from the Penguin either, except for how that final shot of him shows up in the trailer. But beyond that, you're good to go, so with that out of the way, let's get into the Batman. So as I'm sure you remember, the movie was originally going to be starring Ben Affleck. Multiple movies were planned with the actor, which would all branch out from the back end of Justice League. That film closed out by teasing Deathstroke, who was going to be the villain of the film. Snyder actually filmed this after reading the script for the Batman and thought it would be a good way to set up that movie. Announced all the way back in 2014, both Ben Affleck and Jeff Johns worked together on the script. Expected to start filming in 2016, Affleck was going to direct it after his project Live by Night. Said to be influenced by Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth, they also took nods from the Batman Arkham Asylum game. Along with this, we also got some little nods to Nightfall, as Deathstroke would cause a breakout at Arkham. In the comics, Bane did this, which meant Batman had to round up his rogues gallery, and after weeks of doing it, he was simply exhausted. Bane then struck and broke Batman's back, which is one of the most iconic moments in the character's history. Deathstroke would then systematically destroy him as he blamed him for the death of his son. Akin to David Fincher's The Game, he'd ripped both Batman and Bruce Wayne's life apart. Described as being a horror movie, Affleck announced the title was gonna be The Batman and that it would release in 2018. A planned Justice League movie was even delayed to accommodate it, and it was expected to be a major hit. However, things started to fall apart, with Affleck's personal life taking a toll. Affleck said he'd shown the Batman script to a friend who said, "I think this script is good. I also think you'll drink yourself to death if you go through what you just went through on Justice League." Now, Justice League had really ruined his experience, and he said there were multiple factors to it. Zack Snyder's daughter Autumn died, so he had to leave the project, and this led to them reshooting most of the movie. Joss Whedon's behavior on set has been widely publicized, and Affleck was also going through a divorce. So he said the entire experience was soured and that it made him lose interest in the character. Stepping down as a director, he initially said he did this to focus on starring as Batman. It's obviously a long, grueling shoot that deals with basically becoming a bodybuilder, and you can kind of imagine how much pressure there'd be on you. However, over time, he became Schrodinger's Bat, and fans didn't know whether he was in or out. The Weekly Planet came up with that phrase, by the way. I'm not that clever. They also came up with the name Robert Pattinson, which is even listed on the IMDb page. It's got the point now, I think it's Robert Batten Bat, but yeah, great little bit of trivia there. Either way, Batman v Superman had Warner Bros. Reevaluating their slate, with them thinking the light and comedic Marvel tone was the better way to go. We could spend hours just talking about Justice League, and the future of the universe was completely up in the air. The Deathstroke scene was also reshot for Justice League, with it instead setting up the Legion of Doom. Several directors were then brought in to talk about the Batman, with all of these being notable names. There was Ridley Scott, George Miller, Denis Villeneuve, and Fede Alvarez. Who won out in the end though was Matt Reeves, which was due to his extensive Batman knowledge. Signing on in February 2017, the only issue was that he didn't like the script. Writing his own in March of the same year, he initially kept it connected to the DCEU. However, he started working with Affleck, but instead of being a sequel, he wanted to do a sort of prequel. This would focus on a younger Batman who was just starting out in his career. Now you can see why this wouldn't work with Affleck, but they said for a while he was still in the role. However, come 2017, Warner Brothers secretly wanted someone else, and the worst thing is that they didn't even warn a brother. By 2018, Affleck had checked into rehab, Reeves then finished his script, and in 2019, Affleck had stepped down. Reeves then removed all the connections to the DCEU and had the movie in its own universe. Said to be on Earth 2, this was going to be a standalone story. Reeves said he modeled Bruce Wayne on Kurt Cobain, and he listened to Something in the Way when writing the first act. Describing the way he took it, Reeves drew parallels between Cobain's drug addiction and Bruce Wayne's addiction to getting revenge. He said, and the truth is that he's a kind of drug addict. His drug is his addiction to this drive for revenge. He's like a Batman Kurt Cobain. This is something Robert Pattinson talked about as well, with him saying this about his take. Bruce is obsessed with being Batman. He has no desire to be Bruce and he wants to just throw it away. He hasn't gotten over being the 10-year-old boy who, in his mind, let his parents die. For him, being Batman is like a strange kind of therapy. He thinks this is the way he can save himself, by living in this kind of zen state as Batman, where it's just pure instinct and no emotional baggage. It feels like he has a death wish going out at night. I always get the impression that he wants to keep recreating the night when his parents died. In his mind, every single person he is fighting is the person who killed his parents, which I love as an analysis of the character. Further nods to Cobain can also be found in Wayne Tower when we catch he has an electric guitar and an amp that is a bit difficult to spot on first watch, because there's a column in the way. Yeah. Dear me. On top of that though, something in the way is lyrics that refer to how a top has sprung a leak, which many have seen as foreshadowing the flooding at the end. This flooding comes from Batman Zero Year Dark City, in which the Riddler floods Gotham. Beyond that though, Reeves also based his version around The Long Halloween and Dark Victory. Those books are by both Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale and work perfectly being read back to back. The first one has a serial killer named Holiday who's going after members of the mob. The second is a one called The Hangman who's taking down members of the police force. In the end, I've always seen these books as the rise of the supervillain, with them taking control away from Gotham's mafia. There's even a section that's ripped directly from that book, with Falcone talking about Thomas Wayne saving his life. He was shot several times, put on a table and operated on whilst Bruce sat looking down on him. This is very much mirrored in Falcone's death later on when he's shot and he lays on his back looking up at Bruce. Now unlike Holiday, the Riddler's killing the elite, but all of the elite happen to be corrupt criminals, except for Bruce. So you can see how the influences are there, and that takes us into the movie. Now a sense of smell is strongly linked to memories and it can take you back to the past. I used to wear a lot of 212 in my 20s, and wearing that away, which in the link in which feels like it's based on the book Dark Victory. Now we open with the Riddler watching the mayor and see things from his point of view. Reeves said he based this around the conversation, which begins with its own sort of voyeuristic POV. Killers in films are often portrayed like this, with it also being used in the opening of Halloween. Later on, the Riddler grabs Coulson in his car, which is also extremely similar to a kill from that movie. In both, the windows are fogged up from inside, indicating that someone's been hiding there for a while. You can actually spot that SUV earlier in the movie down the road from where we see Selina exit the club. Across from this is the diner, which is also where the characters later captured at. Riddler sort of operates like Jigsaw in that he has handmade death traps and riddles as calling cards. One of these is a rat cage head trap, which is also lifted from 1984. There it was also used on a member of the government, so it's clear Nashton's well read. Beyond that though, we can also tell these are special goggles due to the markings on the screen. Now whether this is intentional or not, it reminded me a lot of Silence of the Lambs. In that, Buffalo Bill used night vision goggles to stalk his prey, and Reeves said he read Harris's book when writing the script. When Batman enters the crime scene later on, we also see all the officers staring at him. This is just like how the police stare at Clarice, and it instantly lets you know how they view him. In a deleted scene, Batman also meets the Joker, who in the movies played by Barry Keoghan. In it, it's akin to Clarice meeting Hannibal Lecter, and they do something similar in the moment. At the hour mark of Lambs, Lecter watches Chilton with a pen, which he later steals from the character. He uses this to escape, and in the deleted scene, the Joker may have done something similar. In it, Batman sends a file through the drawer, which is also just like how Clarice gave a file to Lecter. In the Batman though, the file has a paperclip, which is later missing when it's returned. This is something they could explore in the future, and it could help to explain how Joker escapes. This could potentially set up a War of Jokes and Riddles sequel, which turned Gotham into a war zone. There are also heavy allusions to No Man's Land from the comics. Gotham was rocked by an earthquake in the book Cataclysm, and after the government abandoned the city, it turned into a wasteland. Every criminal was vying for control, which is something they sort of did in The Dark Knight Rises. It seems like they're also setting things up here like that, but we'll talk about that when we get to the Penguin. Breakdown's coming soon. Now in the books, Bruce ended up travelling out to the Senate to beg for help, and this could be what makes him realise that he needs to pay more attention to that side of his life. Either way, we've got a big breakdown of Silence of the Lambs on the channel right now, and it's in this opening we see more of the horror themes. This also highlights the similarities between the characters and how even Batman is sort of like a horror figure. The way Batman operates is similar to villains like Jason Voorhees, and like them, he tends to walk slowly towards his prey. This is an intimidation tactic, and it lets them know there's absolutely no escape. Both the Riddler and Batman first appear from the shadows, and the pair are meant to mirror each other throughout the movie. Their costumes have similar nose pieces, they of course wear masks, and are both orphans. They also both keep diaries, and also also spy on people using binoculars. Riddler is just the next step up from him though, with his influence creating this killer. Alfred later says,
"You're becoming quite a celebrity."
And celebrities are of course seen as influential figures. Riddler was also heavily inspired by the real-life Zodiac killer, with his costume being based around that. The Zodiac also created ciphers and would send letters to the press and police. Even the line, "This is the Riddler speaking," is a nod to the real-life killer. The Zodiac began his letters by saying "This is the Zodiac speaking," and the pair both wear glasses over their masks. These glasses are also a little nod to Batman Forever, as Jim Carrey's Edward Nygma wore clear frame ones as well. The Riddler also riffs heavily off Batman Earth 1 Volume 2, in which he was a terrorist that placed explosives around the city. Riddler would challenge the police and Batman to solve his puzzles within a certain time limit, and if they didn't manage to, he'd detonate the traps. And though we fully encounter him in the mayor's home within the opening 5 minutes, there's actually a split-second shot at the start of the movie when you can see him in the reflection. Through his eyes, we watch as he surveys the scene, and just as he looks up to the roof, you can see him in the glass. Really creepy detail, and there's another moment where we can find him hidden in a scene. At one point, we cut to a wide shot of the Iceberg Lounge, and if you look in the top left-hand corner, you can catch Edward sitting in his room taking photos. Had Batman simply thought about where the nightclub images were taken, he would have realized they were from this point and could have caught the guy even earlier. Either way, in this intro, we get the idea that crime's a constant presence as we see police sirens reflected in the windows. Now, as the Riddler watches over the scene, we see the mayor's son in a ninja costume. It's possible that this kid might end up becoming a Robin, and we have a couple of hints towards this. He's wearing red, practicing martial arts, and he's also an orphan. Yay! Dick Grayson saw his family die in front of him, and we discover that this child was the one who found his dad. He stares at Batman later when he enters the scene, and this gaze is also repeated at the funeral. Potentially he's aware of who Batman is, and Robin was a major part of Dark Victory. There Bruce took Dick Grayson in, and eventually he drafted him into his ranks. Seeing his dad dead and taped up like this, it's clearly going to traumatize him, and a "Congratulations kid, you're Robin now." Bruce obviously sees some kinship in him though, and both are single children that come from wealth, with the death of a parent drastically changing their futures. This moment in costume was also inspired by Reeves' own son, who did something similar for Halloween. Sons and their fathers play into the sins of the father thing that Riddler goes with, and thematically it's all building out from that. Anyway, inside the mayor's home we see a headline detailing Maroni's capture. In case you don't know, he's the gangster from the comics that ended up throwing acid in Harvey Dent's face. This happened during the long Halloween, and in that holiday also left clues at the scene of the crime. These attacks terrified Gotham, and Batman worked with Gordon and Dent in what was the Year 2 story. This idea of it being Year 2 can also be seen in Bruce's journals, with the entries being headlined Year 2. Now, the long Halloween even has a section where Catwoman goes off on her own side story, which was detailed in Catwoman When in Rome. In this, she attempted to uncover whether Falcone was her father, but unlike this movie, she never got an answer. Either way, we watch the news reports, and the mayor talks about the renewal fund.
Now, my young opponent here wants to gut the Gotham Renewal Program, established by the great Thomas Wayne.
The mayor is sort of playing up its Thomas's legacy, but we know deep down that he doesn't really care about him. Instead, he's only interested in lining his pockets, which is something the fund provides. From here, we then see Riddler smashing the mayor's head like the like button. These news reports also appear throughout the film, with them being a reference to The Dark Knight Returns. In that, Frank Miller used them to lay out the story and tell us a lot of information about what was happening in the city. Tim Burton also later adopted them, which is why we get them in Batman 89. The Riddler also makes a point to retrieve the murder weapon, which is strange, as forensically he's safe. He also wants people to know he did it, so it doesn't make sense why he'd take this from the scene of the crime. Until we see the end of the movie. In hindsight, we know this will be left at the apartment so Batman can find it. Cutting to Bruce's narration, we hear that it's
Thursday, October 31st.
Dating this as being Halloween. This again is a nod to the long Halloween, with it also playing into the themes of that night. People of course dress up and look ridiculous, and we now have these costume vigilantes and criminals. As I mentioned before, that saw the rise of the supervillain, so it's fitting that it takes place on this night. Now, with this being the day, we can also work out when the final stage of the plan is. That goes down on November 5th, which my British viewers will know as being Bonfire Night. On November 5th, 1605, Guy Fawkes took part in the gunpowder plot in which he attempted to blow up Parliament. Had it succeeded, this would have completely destabilised the British government more than a lettuce. So I think Reeves is deliberately giving a nod to that with the date. Riddler ends up detonating explosives that destroy Gotham, and he
Redeem
also
toke,
kills a
Sean,
lot of
I gotta
people
take a
controlling the
piss
city.
super
so
bad, bro. Take a piss really bad. And then I'll take a toke. How's that sound? I want to finish this full inventory here. Cut it up. And then go to Rocket Piss. Woo! Alright, I'll be right back, man. I gotta fucking take a piss so bad.
All plays into that and works as a way to build up the real life attacks. In the background we can also hear the thumping score, which feels like it riffs off the Imperial March. The bat signal also lights up the sky, and they use colour brilliantly. We start off with green, which is linked in with the Riddler, and it highlights how intertwined the characters are. He's very much infecting the idea of what it means to be the Batman, or rather vengeance. Batman describing himself as vengeance first appeared in the animated series when we got this unforgettable monologue by Kevin Conroy.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman!
Vengeance is the name Batman uses in the movie, with the Riddler also being out for revenge. At the end though, Batman realizes how futile that is and instead decides to become a beacon of hope. That beacon of hope could eventually be seen in the bat signal, and we watch as its light shines above the city. Now there's this feeling of Gotham almost being like Blade Runner, in which we see it's constantly raining. Reeves said he did this intentionally in order to add to the detective noir feeling of the film. He wanted Gotham to feel harsh and relentless,
how long is chair
almost like
time?
it's beating down on you constantly. In
It's just like a joke.
Shot, we can see several locations, with the first of these being the Gotham Empire. There's also the Odyssey, which may be a nod to the book of the same name by Neil Adams. On top of this is the Bank of Gotham, which appears later on, and a Little Caesars advert. They actually ran the promotion alongside the movie with a Batman pizza that looked more ridiculous than I do now. There are also signs saying stop drops, and these show up on the train too. Though we don't learn what they are, it's likely they're linked to either the Joker or potentially Scarecrow. We learn there's a drug epidemic in the city, with drops being linked directly to it. This is how a lot of the underworld gained their power, and the addicts are known as dropheads. They may even potentially tie in with the Joker's origins at Ace Chemicals, and let me know if you're watching this breakdown after they've cleared it up in Penguin. Tell me from the future. Now Bruce's narration here is something we see as part of his journal entry later on. Everything he says appears in the pages, with his being used to narrate his
You want to know how bad I wish we
rambling,
could sit here and
and
watch
along
stuff
with
like
them also
that?
being a mirror of the Riddler's
Oh my
journals.
God.
Reeves wrote them, so if a random person picked up his and Riddler's, they'd struggle to say who wrote what. The journal entries are also akin to Rorschach, who narrated his Knights and Watchmen. He's basically a darker version of Batman, with him being the next step. This also plays heavily off Batman Year One, in which his narration was presented in the form of notepad entries. According to IMDb Trivia, this was also akin to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, in which he keeps a log of his experiments. He has two sides to him, just like Bruce, with one of these being darker and vengeful. The scene itself pulls heavily from Bruce's first night going downtown, in which he dressed up as a drifter and walked into the center of Gotham. He was deliberately looking for a crime to stop, and in this he ended up meeting Selina. Several of the same shots and angles are used, and interestingly, everyone around Bruce is in costume. He, however, is in what would be be classed as normal clothes. However, this is very much a mask, or rather a disguise. He's using this disguise to blend in with regular people, and I love how we have this kind of symbolism here. A disguise like this was also used in Batman Begins when Bruce was spying on Rachel Dawes. We then cut to several crimes across the city, including the robbery of the Good Times grocery store. Reeves said that he chose to cast Pattinson because of the film Good Time, which this is clearly a nod towards. Going beyond that though, the Drophead also wears the exact same clothes that Pattinson had on in that movie. As I've been saying, it's all connected. It's all connected. Buy all connected t-shirts from the Heavy Spoilers merch store. Now, in to go with this, we see an attack on the Bank of Gotham. What I love is that this shows the unrest amongst the city and how there's this feeling of wanting to take down the rich. Batman at this point in his career goes after petty criminals while ignoring the reasons why the city's the way it is. This blinds him to things like the Renewal Project, and thus his family's involvement comes as a gut punch. Early on in the film, he sees himself as vengeance, which is done in response to crimes. However, at the end, he wants to become hope and look to the future. This is supposed to be shown in the man he saves at the beginning. This is because we can see he's as afraid of Batman as he is of the gang. Bruce realizes the damage this persona has done when one of the Riddler's follows says it back to him at the end. The civilian lying down is meant to mirror the girl at the end as well, with the latter showing how he's changed. So I love how he starts off taking down these petty criminals, but then slowly works his way to the top. It thematically builds off this moment and shows he'll help things that will stop further crimes from being created. Now, amongst this gang, it's possible that one of these is Anarchy. He's a low-level Batman villain that uses Molotov cocktails and also spray paint to send his message. I love how we linger on the shadows, and you can imagine criminals thinking Batman's there. It really lets us see things through the eyes of the criminals, and your mind would fill these shadows with the character. That's the importance of a symbol, especially as he can't be everywhere at once. Who Batman encounters tonight, though, is the Black and White gang that appears to be based upon the Penguin's goons from the comics. He made his forces wear the colours black and white just like a penguin, and this design featured heavily in Arkham City. They aren't part of his group, but we see how tribal that criminals have become. This feels like it's riffing off the Warriors, in which the gangs and criminals all wore costumes. Due to this, you kind of get the idea how supervillains would arise wearing colourful costumes, and also why Batman would rise up to combat this. On the train, we see them attacking pedestrians, and this was originally reported by the Daily Mail as being Bruce Wayne, but it's not, which is why you shouldn't read the Daily Mail, and I said that at the time. Now, this gang are trialing a new member who only has half of his face painted, showing that he's not yet fully part of them. This sort of feels like it may be a nod to Two-Face, but we'll not bring that up in the video because it's a massive reach. He's not Harvey Dent, obviously, but this actor played Robin on Titans, and I did kind of get the feeling that he might end up being influenced by Batman. And he could be a future Robin. Basically, everyone's Robin. It's possible that down the line, though, kids like this could form their own gang that does good, which could be akin to the Sons of Batman
Robin.
from The Dark Knight Returns. Batman stops them, and they very much represent random acts of violence and don't have a meaning, much like what took his parents. Now, it's at this point that he introduces himself.
I am Wade.
No.
I'm vengeance.
Now, this is a direct nod to Batman Earth 1 when the Cape Crusader introduced himself like that to the Penguin. Beating up the gang leader, this was said to be inspired by the scene in Goodfellas where Henry Hill beats up the man who assaults Karen. During the fight, Batman busts out a shocking attack, which we know from the book and the film is in fact his taser gloves. There was a similar power-up in Arkham Origins, which allowed you to electrify your gauntlets. Now, speaking of Arkham Origins, the Batsuit feels like it's based on elements of that. However, it also brings across certain aspects of the suit from other iterations. The cowl looks extremely similar to the one from Gotham by Gaslight, and this also had a collar. This collar appeared in Batman White Knight, which too was more of a grounded take. There's also traces of Lee Bermejo's drawing, and the darts on the wrist look exactly like the talons. These assassins were introduced in the New 52, and they were servants of the Court of Owls. We also get potential nods to these in the first clue, which has an owl on the front of the card. The owl is a predator of bats, so it makes sense why this would appear here. Also, I love how Officer Martinez stops him, and then later on at the funeral, he waves up Bruce Wayne. Such a good way to highlight how Bruce Wayne can actually use his persona down the line, as it'll make the same people who don't trust Batman way more welcoming. Batman then walks through the scene with a strong focus on his feet, painting him out almost like a character in a Western movie. This is later mirrored at the end of the car scene, and there are notes that you'd find in a Western laced throughout the soundtrack. At this point, we meet Commissioner Pete Savage, who's played by the savage Trevor from EastEnders. This is different to the comics though, as in Dark Victory, it was Commissioner Loeb that was killed. They might have changed it up though, because Loeb was the Commissioner on Batman Begins. The name Pete Savage is also something from the '66 Batman show, where we learned he was one of the founding fathers of Gotham. Falcone appeared in both, but here they changed the pronunciation to Falcone, so it sounds more like Falcon. Falcone is also a sort of dark mirror to Bruce in many ways. Both are recluses that hide themselves away, but one lives up top looking over the city, whereas the other resides in the iceberg. Now in this intro, we get it hammered home that Batman disregards the Bruce Wayne side of his life. He's either being Batman or dressed up as a drifter, riding around his motorbike in the city. I feel like the movie very much also pulls from elements of Batman Year 100. This is a great graphic novel set in the future in which Batman rides around the city on his motorbike. He's very much a mechanic that also uses horror motifs from the movies to scare his prey, much like what Pattinson's version does. Frank Miller also worked on a Batman script at one point that had Bruce being a mechanic. Alfred was also called Big Al, and that was scrapped. I like that there's these little ties here. On Bruce's black t-shirt, we can also see the logo Mickey Thompson Tires. These provided the tires for the Batmobile, and it hints at the interest that Bruce has in cars. Zero Year also had Bruce working as a mechanic, and he refused to use his Bruce Wayne persona. At the end of the book though, he realised how valuable it was, and then started putting things in place to basically create his playboy persona. Now in the movie, Batman very much neglects the Bruce Wayne side of his life, but had he paid attention to it, he would have unearthed the renewal project early on. Alfred tells him that it won't be long before he goes bust, and thus he calls in the accountants. Bruce doesn't really seem to care about this, but had he paid attention to the books, then he would have found out straight away that his funds were being funneled into the pockets of the corrupt people in Gotham. Right, sweaty mess. Don't know how Batman does this every night. Bruce then mounts a bike similar to the one from Zero Year, and he rides past Gotham Square Garden, which has a Bella Real advert up at it. This is where the final battle takes place at, and we can see that it's showcasing the upcoming election night. Bruce passes by here later on when he's following Selina from her apartment, and it slowly teases this as being a major location. Batman then returns to his base of operations called Wayne Terminus. This is revealed to be a disused train station created by the Waynes, similar to the monorail that they built in Batman Begins. Having a train line would allow Batman to travel under the city without having to go under the surface, and it's a strategy that popped up in the comics. During the Nightfall arc, Jean-Paul Valley, who took over the cowl, fitted his Batmobile with wheels that could run on train tracks. With his underground method of transportation, he was able to journey through the city undetected. Now in Zero Year, the first reveal of Bruce showed him rocking a shaved head, which was a big change up from what had come before. Again, this was because he was distancing himself from the Playboy persona, and his shaved head had its practical reasons. It was one less thing to worry about, and it showed he was treating this like a military operation. Here, we see he's got an emo haircut and is going through his Spider-Man 3 phase. I feel like it might show a similar thing in that he either doesn't have time to cut it or just doesn't care. Bruce then plays back the night and jots down the narration that we've just heard. At one point, we can see that it also creates a transcript so that Batsy never ends up missing a trick. These contact lenses appeared in the New 52 and allowed him to connect to the back computer anywhere on Earth. Bruce ends up looking over his shoulder to the news announcement, and this shot is later mirrored in the reveal of the Riddler. This hints to us how the two are linked, and it's sort of like poetry, they rhyme. Look, alright, stay. I'm sorry. On the headline, we also see echoes of Wayne murder. Under this, it says Port Adams, which is a nod to Neil Adams. There's also the number 52, which may be a nod to the New 52. We also get a proper look at the black paint around Batman's eyes, which looks ridiculous. In the past, this was done with movie magic, and it disappeared when Batman removed the cowl. However, Reeves rightly leaves it on, and it helps to play into Bruce's madness. As Alfred descends, we can also catch the Batmobile engine, which is something that sits under a top. We get shots of this laced throughout the cave at several points in the movie, and it very much hints at its reveal. Alfred looks over the video of the child, and clearly this reminds him of a young Bruce who he feels like he failed. Next, we get Bruce coming out of the shower and see his highly scarred back. This is a nod to the Alex Ross piece of art, which also had similar cuts on it. I love the camera work here, and throughout the film, there are several scenes where we follow characters from behind, such as Gordon, Selina, and of course Bruce. Lots of feelings like we are voyeurs ourselves are added with moments like this. Alfred has also started to crack the code, and he brings up his days in the circus. The circus is actually a nickname for MI6, showing he's had a history in the Secret Service. As for Bruce, he's very much become a nocturnal animal, and upon seeing the sun for the first time, he has to cover his eyes. At this point, we then meet Dory, who I kind of feel like might be a nod to Aunt Harriet from the 1966 show. We get a much clearer Easter egg that pulls from this later on when we catch the Shakespeare bust next to Alfred. This was a big part of the show, and I love how Reeves included it here. After cracking the cipher, they then head to the mayor's garage, which is filled with expensive sports cars. Gordon says,
"Guess it's good to be the mayor."
And he could only afford all these if someone was lining his pockets. Now, during his search, Batman busts out a tube light, which he also carried in the New 52 and also in Earth 1. In the tire of an Aston Martin, they find the weapon used to sever his thumb and a thumb drive with his thumb attached to it. Thumb drive, I get it. Should have turned off the Wi-Fi though, yeah, because activating it sends out emails to everybody, including the Gotham Gazette. This is a newspaper that's popped up in the animated series, in the New 52, Black Casebug, and a lot more. Also, I feel like Reeves took a lot of inspiration from the animated series, namely down to the film's logo. If you look at how it appears on the box set, you'll notice a lot of similarities to the one in the movie. We then get a split-second shot of Gordon's inbox, which contains several bureau memos that are all repeated. However, there's also case file 0281, which may be a nod to Batman 281. This is titled Murder Comes in Black Boxes, which might be a reach or a link. Now, it's in this that we start to learn about Annika, who I feel is based on Holly Robinson. This is a girl that lived with Catwoman in year 1, and in Rebirth, it was revealed she was the sort of villain who was ruining Selina's life, which I wasn't a big fan of. Now, later on in the Batmobile chase, we get a sign for Robinson Park, which also happens to be a location in Gotham that's based on the character. Batman arrives at the Iceberg Lounge, which in the comic is Penguin's base of operations. This scene pretty much happens 3 times in the movie, with him first going as Batman. He then goes as Bruce before finally sneaking in as Batman. This shows that he's constantly learning and has worked out the best strategy to get in there without getting caught. The twins also feel like they're based on the villains Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Beyond that though, they could be a nod to the twins from Arkham City, with these villains both working for the Penguin. Batman then goes into the club and he starts doing the bat dance from the 60s. We wish, mate, we wish. Instead, he deploys a grapnel gun from his wrist, which was inspired by the gun sleeve used in Taxi Driver. You can definitely see a lot of inspiration from that movie, with the narration, of course, being similar. This is also the first time we see William Kenzie, with us later learning he's an off-duty cop. Shout out to Fix It on Reddit for pointing out that there's a little clue he's a policeman. As he says this, the twins just fire immediately, whereas he gives a warning, which is what the police would be trained to do. Also, Batman having a bat, he's a Batman. Either way, he comes face to face with a Penguin who isn't intimidated at all. He calls him sweetheart, and it kind of shows that people just view him as a man in a mask. Come the car chase though, he's terrified, and you can imagine how the legends would be cemented after he pulls off these impossible acts. Now, who's going through his own rides is the Penguin, and no one really respects him. He waddles as he walks, and though people say this is because he's tied up later on, we can see at the 50-minute mark that he actually has a limp. On top of this, he has a scar that almost looks like it creates a beak, and is generally just mocked by his peers. Watched it like, Colin Farrell has really let himself go. And that's rich coming from me. Now, the makeup here is fantastic, and he looks absolutely unrecognizable. This was in contention for the best makeup Oscar, but it ended up losing out to The Whale. Farrell really nails the role though, and when he was announced, I have to admit I was a bit skeptical. Jonah Hill was really close to signing on, but he would have been terrible.
Jonah Hill! Fuck!
And luckily, they got into disagreements on the character. It was rumoured that he wanted to play the Riddler as well, and that he wanted to be paid $10 million. Pattinson was only getting $3 million, so yeah, out the door you go, mate. Don't go die on that hill, Jonah Hill. Toby Jones was also originally in the running too, who at the time I thought might have been the better actor. Happy to say though, Farrell proved me wrong, and he completely disappears into the role. On set, he was referred to as Richard Unkind due to his resemblance to the actor Richard Kind. Taking 4 hours to get into makeup, they were originally going to do something different. Early concept art shows Farrell as himself, with him looking like a typical gangster. However, Farrell put on weight for the role and wanted to add something more to the look. He started doing impressions of a recording he had, which had the voice of a New York caretaker from the 1980s. He wanted the nose to be crooked from being in so many fights, and slowly they put together the costume. According to IMDb Trivia, Farrell stated that he went to Starbucks to try out his prosthetics and makeup for the first time. Nobody recognized him, but he got a couple of stares from people, and this is when he realized that it was going to work. Now, if you want to support the channel, then check out our new Penguin inspired t-shirt. Available at the merch store below. You definitely need to go and pick up a Penguin. We also have ones for Alien, Theory Time. It's all connected and more, and it all goes towards helping videos like this get made. If you want to listen to these breakdowns on the go, you can also check out the podcast versions available on all good podcast services. Now, when Penguin sits down to talk out the photos, we can see a Pipistrella lamp. This word translates to bat, which is another great bit of set dressing. It's here that Bruce also meets Selina and sees her interest in Annika. Interestingly, Zoe Kravitz has played Catwoman before, with her voicing her in the Lego Batman movie. Batman then follows Catwoman back to her apartment and ends up spying on her, much in the same way that he looked over Andrea and Mask of the Phantasm. Andrea. Now there's a really subtle thing that they do with Selena when she really likes someone and when it's just an act. Initially she calls Annika baby, and this is because she cares about her a lot.
Baby, what's wrong? Listen, baby.
Throughout the rest of the film though, she calls everyone else honey. This even happens to Bruce, however she finally calls him baby after their kiss.
I told you, baby. I can take care of myself.
Seeing her suiting up, we can also tell she's an experienced cat burglar due to the amount of equipment on the wall. He then follows her to the mayor's office and Buddy pops his grapnel gun like it's the start of Smooth Criminal. Ow! Also, yeah, notice how Bruce drops the Batman voice when talking to her as opposed to how he interrogates the Penguin.
You're pretty good at that.
Now, Selena attempts to get back Annika's passport in a scene that's somewhat riffing off The Long Halloween, in that Selena went to Falcone's apartment to crack his safe and Batman confronted her there. He then ended up grabbing a ledger full of the mob boss's dealings, with this ledger playing a big part of the movie. They then returned to Selena's apartment, and in the comics, this was where they originally met. Bruce was knocked out and Selena found him before she nursed him back to health. Selena says, now you might wonder why she didn't take it with her, but this is a smart move by a burglar. Phones can be location tracked, and thus if she took it with her, then they might have something that could tie her to the mayor's office. We then get a video of the Riddler with Savage in the rat trap, which feels similar to the Joker's hostage video in The Dark Knight. After Pete Savage is killed, we get our second clue, which has an old man on the front, which then has an explosion inside the card. This might be foreshadowing the explosion that happens with Alfred, as the following clue has a woman answering the phone. This is much like what happens with Dory, and it's possible that the Riddler was spying on Bruce. He ended up spying on all the other targets, so it makes sense that he'd do that with Bruce as well. Bruce then recruits Catwoman to help, which plays into her anti-hero roots in the comics. Here Selena dons black leather and long boots, which is also similar to what she wore in Year One. On her way to the Clubception, club within a club, she comes across William Kenzie again. He's a character from the comics Gotham Central, with him working in the narcotics department. Here he's handing out drops, which is why they brought the character across. This idea of there being a secret club also perfectly fits the name Iceberg. The top of the club is just the tip, whereas there's a larger unseen threat below. This is where all the corrupt police and politicians hang out, and thus discovering the stuff up top is like the tip of the iceberg. In the basement, she then meets DA Gil Coulson, who's possibly riffing off Gilda in the books. This was the name of Harvey Dent's wife, who was of course the DA in The Long Halloween. There's also Carla, possibly a nod to Carla Viti, who too featured in that book. Whew, changed out of that because it's absolutely boiling. It's absolutely boiling wearing that suit. But on we go, and we see Selena ends up coming across Falcone, and as we later learn, he is in fact her father. On top of this though, he's murdered her mother, so it makes sense she'd completely abort the mission after Bruce asks if they have a relationship. Gil's then grabbed with a collar placed around him, and Riddler later gets one at Arkham. This collar is reminiscent of the one Victor Zsasz wears in the game Arkham Asylum. Jumping to the bat signal scene, we get a real advert, drops, and get a hint at renewal on one of the billboards. Renewal is purposely laced out every aspect of the city, and it shows how wide it stretches. It even shows up on the back of a garbage truck, and it's got pockets in everything. Now beside the signal, we see the WGOT radio tower. This was a radio station in the comics that Jack Ryder reported for, and we heard news from it during the Arkham games. Now, these scenes were inspired by All the President's Men, namely when Deep Throat met with Woodward. Always loved that nickname Deep Throat, and I heard from all the President's Men that Nancy Reagan was a Deep Throat. We'll move on there, we'll cut that joke. Now we then get the next clue.
I'm fairly certain this translates to "You are El Rata Elada,"
which has URL, but they mess up the translation. Just before this, Alfred says his Spanish is a little rusty.
I'm afraid his Spanish is not perfect.
So this shows that they actually cracked the code beforehand, but they dismissed it as being a mistake rather than signifying URL. Now from here, we go to the funeral, which was one of the most widely leaked scenes. Due to being shot on location, a lot of it was shown on the internet. However, this gave Reeves an opportunity which helped to keep Barry Keoghan's role a secret. He filmed fake scenes with him as a policeman so that people would think he was a policeman if his casting ever got leaked. How it got out though was actually through his brother, who got drunk and told people on a night out. Which I love. That's how Kevin Spoilers gets his leaks as well. Keoghan actually originally wanted to play Riddler, and the audition tape for this can be found online. There were also several shots with Zoe Kravitz and John Turturro that made it seem like they had a relationship. Selena doesn't actually appear in this scene though, and just like Bruce, we're supposed to believe that's the woman with Falcone. So I'm guessing that they used Zoe for this scene. Bruce also rides in a Corvette, which was used in the 1970s as a base for the Batmobile. This was put in place by Neil Adams, and huge shout out to the Canadian lad for pointing that out. In
The
the scene,
Canadian
we also
lad.
meet one of Riddler's followers, which highlights how they're in every aspect of society. There's one who tries to pass through the line, and then one who brings up how his daughter died. At this point, we meet Bella Real, and we learn Bruce has been ignoring her calls. On IMDb, it states that Real might seem callous in approaching Wayne at a funeral, but he's a recluse that's not responding to her calls, so it might be the only chance she gets. The Riddler also watches over the proceedings, which is such a cool way to keep him mysterious. He's basked in light, whereas Batman works in darkness, and it kind of shows the difference between the characters. Whereas Riddler appears like a darkness in the light, we see as Batman appears like a light in the dark. The funeral's then sprung by Coulson's car. This leads into Bruce saving the mayor's son, and I'm telling you that's Robin. Now as for the car, it has DOA, and it's the DA's ride, with DOA of course standing for Dead on Arrival. His license plate reads S397WD. This is a reference to Detective Comics 27, released all the way back in 1939. Many of the police officers in the movie are from the 13th precinct as well, and like Batman says, it's all connected. Now as Batman walks in, we also get a shot of a monitor with 4 screens. 2 of these are black and white, while the other 2 are green, which highlights the Batman vs Riddler conflict with this man in the crosshairs. We see Riddler strapped an explosive collar to his neck, and this actually pulls from a real-life bank robbery. That was documented in the Netflix film Evil Genius, which went on to inspire these moments. During the live stream, there's also a comment that says, "Hope it's a dud, and we gotta do it all again Tuesday," which sets up the attack that comes at the end of the movie. The live stream also has some puns in it, which I love, which say mind-blowing stuff, and this is gonna be such a blast. Now the explosion by Riddler is a big talking point around the movie, as it blasts Batman in the face, and he still comes out looking like Robert Pattinson. His mouth isn't even burned, and it's one of the big critiques I see about the movie. However, being able to slow the footage down means we can catch him actually putting his hand up to cover his mouth just as it goes off. You should always cover your mouth when another dude explodes in your face. Waking up at the station, the police then start to question Batman, and we see the tension between him and the police. They say he could be an accessory to murder, and as we learn, the Riddler views him as an ally. Now the police were against Batman early on in his career. In both Batman Year 1 and Mask of the Phantasm, he ended up taking down a whole SWAT team, which was somewhat referenced in The Dark Knight. Arkham Origins had you sneaking into the GCPD, and you had to escape similar to this. Here though, Gordon is his ally, with him allowing him to smash him in the face like the like button. This is a reference to Batman Earth 1, where Batman does the same thing. They weren't allies at that point though, and it was done to show that the book was doing something new. He then runs off and the police follow him, and if you'd fancy following me on Instagram, I'd really appreciate it.
This guy's got such a unique way of fucking...
going, so if you want to stay up to date with the news and some selfies, then please give us a follow. I try and reply to all the new comments I can, so if you fancy chatting with me about nothing, then go give it a follow. Now Batman ends up gliding off the top of the police department, and he smacks his face, which is potentially also playing off the opening of Earth 1. In that he goes to jump across a building, but he ends up falling after his grapnel gun breaks. This was done to show how inexperienced he was, which is definitely a thing that repeats throughout the movie. Reeves looked at Wingsuit YouTube videos when composing the shot, which is why it's framed like this. It's a far more tangible and realistic glider, whereas ones in things like Batman Returns, that's more like the wings of a bat. Nolan of course built the glider into the cape through electrified fibre, whereas the Batman's cape here doesn't have that ability. This scene was also shot on the same street where Nolan flipped the truck in The Dark Knight. Returning to Gordon, I love how he says, "You could have pulled that punch," and Batman says he did. "Could have kicked your ass, mate, but I was being nice." They then unpacked the rat with wings clue and believe it could hint to the Penguin due to his nickname. Down at the Iceberg Lounge, we see him and his gang moving a shipment to the docks. The docks are a massive location in Batman comics, and yeah, I always imagine stuff going down at the docks. You might also notice on the warehouse that you can see the renewal sign, again highlighting how this is linked to the mob. Spying on them from the roof, we then get hints about how the Maroni drug bust was a fraud. In The Long Halloween, the Maronis and Falconis were rival families, with the former initially being hit first. This caused tensions to flare further until Alberto Falcone was seemingly killed. However, there's always the feeling that the Maronis are on the back foot, which is summed up with Sal being in jail. Selina then arrives and finds Annika before it all kicks off with a confrontation leading to a big chase. Now Reeves stated that he took a lot of inspiration from the Batmobile from the John Carpenter classic Christine. It also gets covered in fire and chases after someone much like the monstrous machine did in that movie. I love how the car comes from the shadows as well, and it fits this Batman perfectly. Just in the same way that James Bond will forever be tied to his range of Aston Martins, Batman is very much tied to the car. And chicks dig the car. The design encapsulates the character, and each one of them symbolic on a number of levels. Anton Furst's Batmobile perfectly fit Michael Keaton's stylized gothic take, Nolan's Tumbler echoed the groundedness and practicality of Bale's Batman, and Robert Pattinson's is also a machine that mirrors the way he is. Batman also stalls in this moment, showing he's not as finessed as he'd like to be. For the chase itself, Reeves stated that he took inspiration from The French Connection and also elements of Steve McQueen's Bullet. However, what Reeves does differently than most car chases is that he films this at night. Typically car scenes are shot during the day, as it can be a nightmare to film nighttime road scenes. It's also pouring with rain, so you have cars slipping and sliding all over the road. This just differentiates it though, and helps to highlight those horror motifs. You mentioned Jason Voorhees before, and I see a lot of things like the Terminator and how Batman's portrayed. Guy will stop at absolutely nothing, no matter what, and he's always going to keep going, no matter what's thrown at him. Along with the Robinson reference in the sign, there's also nods to Hinkley River, which is a feature in Gotham. A lot of Pharrell's lines here were also improvised, and I love this cat and mouse chase, or bat and mouse. Batman bursts forth from the fire and then walks towards the Penguin in what frames the character upside down. This is of course playing off him being a bat, and yeah, one of my favourite car chases of all time. Worth getting a Dolby Atmos set up for, and even when making this breakdown, I closed the laptop, restarted the scene, and just sat back and enjoyed it. Interrogating him, I know you killed about 40 people on the highway, mate, but yeah, you do it again and we'll have to take you to jail. Figuring out the clue, they get the website, and this then leads them to the orphanage. We can see that this was donated by the Wayne family, and there are theories that in this universe they donated the manor to be this. This is something that Bruce did in The Dark Knight Rises, and it's possible that's why he now lives in Wayne Tower. Batman and Gordon then explore it, much in the same way the pair went through the abandoned building in Earth 1. Coming across Dropheads, we see how the drug epidemic has turned some people into what are basically zombies, and it highlights how much Falcone's destroying lives. Here they see the campaign video for Thomas Wayne, and in Earth 1 the character was running for mayor. This is what led to his murder, with that buck pinning it on the Penguin. Here we get the feeling that Falcone's involved, but I like the fact that it's also ambiguous. We never know whether it was Falcone who ordered the hit or just a random gunman. However, Falcone is the one who strangled the city and led it to the point that the majority were in poverty. Thus, even though he may not have ordered the hit, he still created the circumstances in which it could happen. Now Thomas has ran for mayor outside of this, with it also being a plot point in Joker. This one seems a lot more sincere though, even if he does want to get a journalist beaten up. The idea of the Waynes being corrupt was also explored in the Telltale Batman game, with it doing a different take on the family. Now here we also hear the song Ave Maria, which opened up the movie. This is typically used at both funerals and weddings, and it was actually one of John Wayne Gacy's favourite songs. Notes from this are also present in the Riddler's theme, with him also singing it at the asylum. He sings it in falsetto, which is something he would have learned to do as a child, hence why he continues to do it as an adult. Now this time it's sung by a children's choir, and we later learn that Edward's a member of this group. This explains why he likes to sing as well, and why he has a fascination with the Waynes. Thomas promised to change his life for the better, but in his death, he left him and his friends to rot. Across town, Alfred also gets a letter for Bruce Wayne that says for his eyes only. As soon as I read Fireproof, yeah, I'm throwing it, get that out of here. Now, there's lots of debate over whether Riddler knows if Bruce is Batman or not. In the comics during the Hush storyline, he figured it out, but he decided not to tell anyone. That's because of how worthless a riddle is that everyone knows the answer to. Hush is also referenced in the film during the campaign video, and we see the surname Elliot popping up on screen. Thomas Elliot became the villain Hush in the comics, but the animated movie changed things up, so it was actually Riddler under the mask. Yeah, the Hush refers to the hush money that was gonna be used to keep him quiet, but there is the potential that they're setting up the villain for the future. Potentially, Riddler is also the journalist's kid, though we never get this confirmed. Now, a clue that Riddler might know is that Bruce is the only target he doesn't try to kill himself. Therefore, it might be because he wanted him to survive, but hey, I'll leave that up to you guys to debate in the comments below. Initially, I thought Riddler knew, but after sitting on it for a couple of years, I don't think he does. I think realizing that Bruce was taking down the corrupt would shatter his worldview and make him realize the elite aren't all bad. There's also the note that he leaves when attempting to kill Bruce that says, "See you in hell." This is wrapped in fire-resistant material, showing he was expecting Batman to get this after Bruce was killed. At Arkham, he also says,
"I told you I'd see you in hell."
Obviously, hell means Arkham, and he didn't know that Alfred would get the explosive. In his mind, it would take out Bruce, and it was only because he's Batman that Bruce wasn't there. So I doubt that he would have done this, and instead I don't think he has a clue. The package being for Bruce Wayne's eyes only as well, yeah, it shows that he was the one it was intended for. The reason I don't think he goes after Wayne himself is also because Wayne's a recluse, and this is sort of the same thing with Falcone. This is why he uses the Batman to bring him out, and thus I don't think he knows Bruce is the Caped Crusader. Batman also seems convinced of that as well, as at Arkham he starts off in the shadows. He's visibly shaken when Riddler starts saying Bruce Wayne, but then he realizes he has no idea. This makes him way more confident confronting him because he knows the Riddler doesn't know. Now we also learn more about Martha Wayne, who, like Earth 1's, revealed to be in Arkham. Originally she was called Martha Kane after Bob Kane, but this was changed up to add a flavour of insanity to Bruce's legacy. Interestingly, Wayne Tower is located at 139 Kane Street, which is a further reference to Bob Kane and the debut issue Detective Comics 27 releasing in 1939. In the newspaper articles, we see that Martha developed mental health issues after seeing her mother murder her father and then turn the weapon on herself. This is not too dissimilar to Bruce, who developed his own issues after watching his parents be killed in front of him. In the book Flashpoint, a young Bruce is shot instead of his parents, and this makes Martha go on to become the Joker. Thomas ends up becoming
that's
the
such
Batman.
a crazy idea. The kid gets killed, the mom ends up becoming the Joker. That's a
these
cool
sorts
idea.
of issues laced throughout the family. This was also played upon in the Arkham Asylum book, where it was further expanded upon in the New 52. According to IMDb trivia, Matt Reeves also cited the Batman graphic novel Ego as having an influence on Batman's portrayal in the film. He said, "I wanted to get into the mindset of the character, and I wanted to think of the psychology for me. I think one of the cool deep dive ones was Darwin Cook's Ego. He's confronting the beast that is Batman, and there's a kind of duality. There's a lot in the story about Bruce Wayne confronting the shadow side of himself, that's Batman, and the degree to which you have self-knowledge. This psychological union where Batman's broken and he does the things for reasons he knows and the reasons he doesn't know yet." Now, the Wayne cease and desist demand is also sent by the law firm Miller & Moore, which are nods to Frank Miller and Alan Moore. Now, after being chased out by Selina, he meets her at the signal and she says,
You know, whoever the hell you are, you obviously grew up rich.
"You're close, you're very close." She reveals something about herself, though, in that her dad's Falcone. Now, I love how we have these two children that have become mass vigilantes because of the actions and consequences of their fathers. This whole scene is about consequences, with it being Bruce who lambasts Annika for hanging about with the wrong crowd. However, the sins of the father are now visited upon both Bruce and Selina, with the sins of the father also being one of Riddler's clues. Now, Selina sort of has an idea about who killed her mother.
Probably some creep from the club.
And you're close, you're very, very close. She also brings up how she doesn't care about Thomas and Bruce Wayne, which alerts him that the next step of Riddler's plan is all about them. Returning to the cave, we see the news report, and you can catch a mention of Blackgate along the bottom, which is where the prison's located at in Gotham. Bruce then goes to Falcone, and in the background we hear... This is I Have But One Heart, being sung by Johnny Fontaine in The Godfather. The Godfather was heavily influential on The Long Halloween, with several panels and lines pulling directly from it. Clearing the room, we get hints about Falcone murdering Thomas Wayne, though he blames Maroni. Bruce then returns to the tower and he goes into his parents' room. There's massive chains on the door, and these highlight how he and all others are not allowed to enter. It's really just too painful for him, but this trip makes him closer to Alfred as he realizes he's all he's got. Alfred reveals how Thomas didn't want the journalist killed, but it shows how within everyone there exists some sort of darkness. Really complex look at the character, and it makes Bruce question whether the darkness is corrupting him. Alfred divulges that he didn't really care about the campaign trail though, and he only did it to protect his mother. It hammers home how important it is Batman wears a mask, as he can't risk the people close to him being hurt. Now, we learned Thomas was going to go to the police, and he apparently went to Falcone to tell him. That night he was killed, but I feel like the police wouldn't have done anything about it. The city was too corrupt, and thus Thomas was always going to be a victim. Finally holding Alfred's hand and saying he doesn't want to go through losing his parents again, we then see the bat signal in the sky. Catwoman's called him, and she's got Kenzie. At this point, Falcone's revealed to be the rat without wings, and they play a recording of him strangling Annika. This is what he did to Selina's mum, and it's also what he eventually tries to do to her. Exposing he's the rat with wings that runs the city, we then get a desperate race to the club. Batman ends up ziplining down the side of the building, which is sort of a reverse of the 66 show where they'd climb up the side of one. At the club, Selina also goes in wearing a pink wig, with a character having pink hair in The Dark Knight Returns. Bruce ends up using his chess piece as a weapon, with us theorising at the time of the costume reveal that these were in fact karambits. Both pieces can detach and be used as a weapon, which is something that Batman could also do in The Brave and the Bold. While this is going on, the news reports then leaked and we get a good look at Falcone's face. You might notice that he has 3 scratches on his cheek here, which is something Selina later repeats. This is exactly what she did during year 1, but there is the wonder why he had them before this happened. In doing my research, I found this was to highlight Selina's mother did the same thing when he was killing her, and it's sort of like poetry, they rhyme.
Every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one.
What? Descending into the basement, I love the scene where Batman walks through the darkness, lit only by gunfire. Just before this, the character appears in the elevator hanging from the ceiling, which is similar to Ben Affleck's first appearance in BVS. Batman saves Selina from not only being strangled, but also from the darkness that would consume her from killing her father. We then get a great look at her nails when he takes the gun, and Kravitz said she deliberately picked the longest ones possible to resemble a cat.
You got a lot of cats.
Taking Falcone out, he says he's going to take all his secrets to the grave, and because
They
of
say
this,
that
Bruce
as if it's some like crazy Easter egg. Obviously, you're gonna choose the longest ones. To
never finds out what really happened to his father. Penguin also threatens him, showing his quest for power, which will no doubt be built upon in the series. Falcone's then shot, with Bruce realizing he's brought him into the light. Spotting the Riddler in the window at his apartment, they catch the Riddler in the diner across the street. The diner itself might also look familiar, as it's based heavily on Nighthawks by Edward Hopper. A diner like this appeared in the opening of Arkham Knight, where it was part of an attack by the Scarecrow. Riddler's head then gets smashed against the counter, which cracks the glass, and I love how this detail remains on them for the rest of the movie. He says that he's just ordered pumpkin pie, which was inspired by the Golden State Killer. When he was captured, he said he'd just put a roast in the oven, and it shows where the character's mind goes after finally being taken in. He also carries 2 IDs, which are Edward Nashton and Patrick Parker, the latter of which was apparently from the comics, but nobody could find the origin until Alex Jaffe looked into it. Working for the DC Comics webpage, he uncovered that the Riddler Wikipedia page had been edited to show it for a couple of days. It was never the case though. I got that fact from IMDb trivia, but now
you getting
I'm
arrested from
questioning if I
Reddit?
should
Just
believe
wait,
it
I've
because
got
it
a
was
roast
written on
in
the
the
internet.
oven.
Oh, but we still
That's
don't have his
crazy.
true name, which is Edward Nigma in the comics. That is Mr. Enigma, Mystery, and it's lots of wordplay there.
You really are quite bright, despite what people say.
Now, because he was raised at an orphanage, it is possible we'll learn more about his true family down the line. This arrest is also similar to the one of Lee Harvey Oswald, with him also using a rifle to assassinate someone. That was obviously JFK.
Nothing bad ever happens to the Kennedys. Wow!
But where the similarities come is that they both had 2 IDs. Lee's second card said Alex Hiddle, and he told the police to figure it out when they asked who he was.
You tell me.
Which is obviously playing off that. Also, love the little question mark in the coffee. Did you make that, yeah? Or was the barista in on it too? Answer me, Joker. Now inside this apartment, we catch a single bat in a cage with rats scurrying below it. This represents Batman hanging above the city whilst the rats act below him. Gordon also says,
I don't think that rat likes you, man.
with a bat also potentially being seen as a rat with wings. One of the IDs then comes back, and this identifies Riddler as a forensic accountant. This is at the KTMG law firm, which is a play off the big American law firm KPMG. Forensic accountants are also hired due to their due diligence, and they get access to everything. Thus, this explains how Riddler unearthed Renewal, and it's his background that made him see the injustice. Now, his final plan's located under his carpet, but Bruce doesn't suss it out because he comes from a privileged background. He doesn't recognize the working class carpet tool, but to be fair, I grew up broke, mate, and I didn't recognize it either. Privileged life of a YouTuber. Seeing the newspaper clippings on the wall, we then see a sketch of the Batman that looks very similar to one of the Zodiac. Again, this highlights how the Riddler and Batman have similarities, and it leads to Batman going to Arkham. Visiting the Riddler, he talks about how all his orphan friends were ignored while Bruce was made a fuss out of because he was rich. This echoes the sentiments of the guy at the mayor's funeral who said that no one made a fuss about the death of his daughter. The Riddler says that Batman inspired him, and all it took was fear and focus. Batman rejecting this though breaks Riddler, and I love the... Guy is so unhinged, and he said the plan was that both would be safe there. Returning to the apartment, the explosives go off, which is just like how the one at Wayne Tower went off, with him figuring out things too late. These plans are written on the floor in white, which is also similar to how Bruce laid out the clues by spray painting the floor.
Hey guys,
thanks for all the comments.
Whoa, stealing my job, mate. I love how he's thanking his community though, and yeah, you know what, I appreciate you guys as well. Now we also see that there's a line of winter combat masks, which was something fans figured out when looking up his mask. You can also see a comment that says, rifles are good, highlighting what weapons will be used at the end. On top of this, there's a tuck of cling wrap, with this being used as part of the mask. Dano apparently wrapped his head in it several times, but Reeves said he had to stop because it just made his face red. Instead, the top of his head is done, but you might miss it if you're not looking closely. Now the film culminates with the seawall of Gotham being destroyed. Now though we talked about that thing with Riddler's plan before in Zero, yeah, it also is heavily in line with the Joker's in the graphic novel The Man Who Laughs. In that, the Clown Prince of Crime kills several high-ranking politicians, and he even makes an attempt on Bruce Wayne's life. Come the end of the work, Bruce also discovers the Joker's plans to use the reservoir to take down the city, much in the same way that Riddler does here. Now the seawall being weak is something we actually get a hint towards at the beginning of the movie. During the debate with Bella Real, we learn the funds haven't helped at all, and thus things like the seawall have been left to rot. Beyond this though, we can also catch a newspaper wall chronicling Don's wins, and if you zoom in the one just below the Ellen lies, you can catch a mention of this. It asks whether the seawall construction's been stalled, and due to the greed and corrupting Gotham, it's turned it into a weak point. Batman then ends up taking down the Riddler's forces, and though I was hoping it would be Venom that he uses, the official book released alongside the film reveals it's just adrenaline. The scene is so good though, and it reminds me a lot of the SWAT team one in The Dark Knight. Batman really shows how capable he is though, and yeah, cracking entrance, cracking fight, and cracking skulls. There's also a moment where he moves out of the way of someone shooting him, and on Twitter there were complaints he let the guy die. However, if you slow down the footage, you'll see the bullet actually hits his gauntlet and head, which then causes a ricochet. Your sense of clouding the whole area in smoke, which is reminiscent of the scene from The Dark Knight Returns in which he did the same thing with Two-Face's goons. He ends up almost beating one of Riddler's guys to death, which is when he's stopped by Gordon, who stopped Batman from killing Joker and Hush in a similar way. Now though people think this is the same guy as the one at the funeral, it's actually a different actor. Through him though, Batman realizes he needs to become a symbol of hope, and he somewhat goes through a baptism. The idea of baptism is what the Riddler wanted, as he believed the floods would wash away the corrupt in the city. However, both Gotham and the Batman will now rebuild and hopefully become something better. Emerging as a new kind of hero, he's now seen as someone that people shouldn't cower away from, and this is symbolized by the child he pulls out the wreckage. Wait, is that Robin Kid? There's then also the girl on the roof. The man at the train station at the start was terrified of him, whereas she refuses to let go, showing how his arc has gone from being about vengeance to something more. Either way, Batman leads them out of the darkness by being a light amongst it. The flare almost creates a question mark in the smoke, and he helps everyone out the watery grave. Flooded locations then lit at the finale, including the hall, the diner, the iceberg lounge, and we catch Penguin staring over the city. This has been shown to us in the Penguin trailer, and my guess is that it's going to start immediately from here. Bella Real says we'll begin to believe in Gotham again, and the phrase "I believe in Gotham City" was the opening line of Long Halloween. This is what Thomas also said in his campaign video, and it's showing how Real's carrying on his ideals. We also get the scene with Joker and Riddler, which Reeves said wasn't put there to tease the sequel. Instead, he said it adds to the stakes of the final scene, where Selina says this place is never going to change. There's constantly the idea of power brewing, and even in the power vacuum, people are scheming away. Joker and Riddler finding kindred spirits was also supposed to mirror Selina and Bruce finding each other. Now Joker's riddle is,
The less of them you have, the more one is worth.
Yo, I'll be right back. It got me into the Muslim state. You best believe it.
And this is actually a play on Knox's comment in Batman 89 where he says, the more they've got, the less they're worth. Catwoman also says Batman's spoken for, which is a line that ended Batman 0 Year. She also states she's going to Bloodhaven, which is a sister city to Gotham in the comics that is a haunt of Nightwing. Batman then rides off beside Selina and watches her disappear in his rearview mirror before turning his eyes to the road. He'd love to go with her, but Gotham's where his hearts are, and I love how this shot's used to convey that. They ride in different directions, and this highlights how they're both making different choices. She will go off on her own for herself, whereas he'll remain behind and help out the city. Come the end of his arc, I'd love to see a similar scene, but with Bruce finally deciding to ride off with her. Sums up the sacrifice he's giving though, and I can't wait to see where they go down the line. After the credits, we also get a message that says goodbye with the URL www.ratalada.com. The website was used as a viral way to promote the film, with it also being a way that Riddler could send out messages. It's still up to this day, and the final clue unearthed so far reveals the name Joker, possibly teasing the future. Either way, that's the breakdown, and huge thank you for watching up until this point. If you enjoyed it, please hit the thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe for our breakdowns on the Penguin. Please drop a like on the video as well, and if you want to support the channel as a member of the Spoiler Society, then please click the join button.
Okay, we're starting with a crazy looking Japanese level that has no clears, but one thing I did notice is that it has a 12-second world record, but is incredibly long and ridiculous looking. You know what that means? That means there are shenanigans. Shenanigans afoot. Hey, what's that door? Those weren't even shenanigans. It wasn't even a dev exit. It was an obvious exit. What? What? You know I gotta get that world record though. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I'm saying? Ah. Look at that. That was huge. Wow. That was amazing. Oh! If you turn around just right, you miss that bullet and fall straight down to the door. That's incredibly precise. Got it. Yeah. 3-second world record. Try to beat it, suckers. Well, since that was
that's
so
pretty
quick,
crazy,
it
actually.
seems like
Holy
a
shit.
good time to transition to this. Because they really come for you. 27 with 30 lives. Fiance star in the 9 run. Well, I don't like the looks of this.
Oh no!
Cool. 2-second world record. What? Do you just jump and win? The goal is in there somewhere. Whoa. Really? It's one jump. It is one jump. Well, color me intrigued. Huh. Okay. Moving on to stage 2 with 27 lives. Speedrun Madness 10 seconds by username Sadface from America. Shot me right in the crotch. Nice. Not nice. It looks pretty easy, actually. Doesn't it? I mean, it looks pretty chill. Dude, super easy. Very nice, but no 1-ups. Not nice. Not nice at all. We need 1-ups, man. Moving on to stage 3 with 25. Testy Bluffs Testy bluffs. What does that mean? It's like those bluffs are awfully testy. Does he mean bluffs like cliffs or whatever? Or the word bluff is, you know, like if you're playing poker and you're bluffing, right? That's one definition, but another definition of bluff is, I don't exactly know what it means, but it's like, it has something to do with terrain, like plateaus or cliffs or something. I don't know. Do not hit that switch, that's for sure. Nice.
You're up.
This level is very interesting, you guys. Oh, crap. I was going for the ball, but then I backed up, but then I died for making no decision in time. Boom, 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 boom. Jump, jump, spin. Boom, 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 boom. Nice. Got it. Up top. That's it. Look at all those one-ups. Gorgeous. Good level. Very testy. Moving on to stage 4 with 26 lives. Japanese speed run. What are the coins for? Well, don't go down there. Oh gosh. Am I winning?
You're winning, son.
I really don't see why you have to treat me that way. You know? I really don't understand. No. No. Dang it. What the? What the?
What the fuck?
That was crazy. Moving on to stage 5 with 23 lives. Laurel Mountain. That can't be good. Simply put, this cannot be good. Oh no. Oh no. Oh goodness. It's got a 40-second world record. That's not very long, so maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it's not so bad. What's up there? What's up there? Can I go up there? Can I go up there? You have to go through a long-ass tube every time? Why would you do that to me, man? You know I want to go up there, too. Like, what's up there in the box? What is happening in this level, dude? What is going on? What in the world is going on? I don't know how I'm alive. There's a checkpoint. I mean, there's a checkpoint. Freaking checkpoint. You know I love a good checkpoint. Does that take me back to the beginning? Because I really don't want to go to the beginning. Oh. At least I got a checkpoint. What is this level, man? What is this? What am I experiencing? What the heck am I experiencing?
Hey,
oh, great.
Hey, Rocket.
I was able to go back. So that's not so bad. Can I go in here? I can't fit. How do you not fit through that, man? Oh, I fit. I fit. I don't know. I keep living through all these very precarious situations. I don't know how, but I ain't complaining. Moving on to stage 6 with 24. Waterlogged temple.
Oh, this shit looks terrible.
Zelda? Oh, no Zelda. I was expecting a Zelda. Feels like a Zelda level. But there's no Zelda anywhere. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. There's no Zelda anywhere. What the hell? Why didn't you go in the crane? Come on, man. Give me that. Give me that coin. Yeah, boy. Forced damage? That is an outrage. Oh, boy. I don't understand what just happened. It sucked. That's what happened. Stupid. Personally, I blame the forced freaking damage. You know, I worked hard to keep that power up, and then the guys just like, suck it. No power up for you. Nice, nice. Speed, baby, speed. Oh, the water gimped my jump. Damn it. You know, the level is kind of annoying because it's got that one tile of water that slows down all your jumps. But I like the level design. It's cool. It's interesting. Makes things very interesting. Nice. The fish are a problem here. We're gonna kill him and then go immediately. Go, 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 go. Nice. Okay, get rid of that fish. Okay, come on, jump. Jump. Oh, that fish is coming. Checkpoint. Nice. Yeah, it's a cool level. I gotta give props. I like it.
That was a pretty cool
Not bad at
sequence
all,
of bouncing off of their head there.
It's over. It was short.
Those are even a
Second half
checkpoint.
was
What?
underwhelming. Moving on to stage 7 with 24. Macacos final. Macacos. 6-minute world record. Holy smokes, you guys. Fire Yoshi. All right, we're gonna crush that world record. Check it out. Check it out, y'all. Try and stop me from getting that world record. I dare ya. I dare ya. I freaking dare ya. Yoshi! Wait, couldn't I have jumped up there? There was another option. I could have gone up top, ditched Yoshi, and went up top. Oh yeah, I could have skipped, No, you damn crane bitch! Ah. I lost Yoshi, you guys.
You damn crane bitch.
Looks like another. If I could use Yoshi to jump up there too. Another possible shortcut. I lost all my stuff. My power-ups, my Yoshi, everything fell apart. What the? How do you get up there? 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 Is there another Yoshi? I don't see anything. Is there a Yoshi? You got a Yoshi? Anybody got a Yoshi? You got a Yoshi? Anybody got a Yoshi? Found a Yoshi, you guys. Oh, whoa! Damn, I almost got to bring him. Checkpoint. What up? Let's see. Cool. I don't know if I'm doing this right.
So?
I have no idea. Boing. Shoot, I don't think I can get that, can I? Yeah, I'm not going to be able to slip in there. Can I respawn that Koopa, though? Wait, why don't I just go back in the door? Yeah, so... Hold on, will he walk across? No, he won't. If I do this... Come back. Oh! Hoo, 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 hoo. Yeah! Sick. Okay, what do we do now? Do I go up? Damn it, I had to lose Yoshi. Whoa! Holy crap! That was crazy. Whoa, this is crazy. Oh, come on. Damn it. 1, 2, 3, bam. 1, 2, 2. Dang it. It's over. I told y'all we were gonna crush that world record. 3 minutes, not bad, not bad at all. Moving on to stage 8 with 24 lives. David's DK's adventure. Bam! What up, dude? Boing, 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 boing. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's not good. Oh, we're chilling. No worries, you guys. No worries.
Classic Mario Sun level.
Whoa. Whoa. Nothing like a slow-ass snake ride that goes backwards. Love going backwards. So awesome. Wow. That was nuts. I really don't want to have to do this again. We gotta focus. Why do you keep going backwards? Just go forward. Stupid snake. Oh, I want to go there. I feel like I could have skipped most of that. I feel like I could have jumped straight here. Oh, that's not good. Very suspicious, right? Wide open. Wide open right there. Nice. All right, I don't care now. We're all freaking good. Hell yeah. Very satisfying checkpoint grab. Dang it.
Both bow. 3 mil.
Yo, this run is ridiculous. Like, what is going on? Stage 9 with 26 Japanese.